Hello, everyone. Welcome to iExamB. And today we have with us Tia Ozukum as RBI Grade B 2002 officer. Many congratulations, Tia.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks to the entire iExamB team. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor to be here today with all of you.
Thank you, Tia. So let's talk about Tia's success story and how it was. And it's not been a simple ride for him. I'm giving a brief background about Tia. So Tia completed his BCom honors from Shriram College of Commerce, Delhi University. After that, he has worked for 3 years in the private sector, Coke Consulting, and then he decided to prepare for RBI. So let's hear it from Tia. What motivated you to leave a successful career and very good paying career in the private sector and start preparing for RBI?
Yeah, ma'am. Well, it all began when I was going through this book, I Do What I Do by Raghuram Rajan. So I did know of the existence of the RBI, the central bank, but I just didn't know that there was a competitive exam for this. So I was reading his book, and then he spoke about the integrity of officers at RBI, and then this piqued my interest. So I did my due diligence on the internet, and I actually came across the RBI Grade B exam, and that's when I had a sudden change of heart, and I decided to take that leap of faith and actually prepare for this exam now. Yeah.
Okay, so this was the first attempt at RBI Grade B, but I also
Yes, ma'am.
understand you did give RBI assistant this year itself.
Yes,
So
yes, I
what
did.
was the strategy? Like you wanted to be a Grade B officer or an assistant?
Yeah, ma'am. I definitely, my end goal was to become a grade B officer only. So my strategy was that I would give every banking exams available in India just to prepare myself better for the main event, that is the RBI Grade B exam. So I also sat for the IBPS PO exam, ma'am. I was
Okay.
fortunate enough to clear the prelims, but when it came to the mains, I missed the quant cutoff by about zero point 0.5 marks, ma'am. So all of this led up to, led to a proper build up for me to be able to actually clear the prelims for RBI Grade B. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good strategy actually. I will say, Tia, because when you know your aim is there and there are similarities in other exams, they can
Right.
really help you prepare well for the main event, as you said. For you,
Right.
in your case, it is RBI Grade B, so it
Yes.
gives a lot of practice. And in addition to the mocks, giving actual exams prepares you mentally also. With the kind of
Definitely. Yeah.
environment when you are sitting in an actual exam, the
Right.
pressure of an exam, the pressure of going to the venue on that day on
Right.
time, and so
Right.
you
Right.
you
Right. Mm.
experience it all. So I think
Right.
that's great. I'll just pick up one point here. When you said quant, you had
Yeah.
missed in the mains of IBPS PO.
Right.
So in
Right.
RBI also this year, a lot of candidates actually missed out the phase one because of quant and some because of reasoning,
Right.
especially quant. Many of them found difficult.
Right,
So
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
did you specifically prepare a lot on quant, and what exactly are your strength areas in phase one?
Uh, yeah, ma'am. To be very honest, I followed a highly concentrated strategy when it came to prelims. I didn't focus too much on quant reasoning and all, but my anchor towards gaining confidence for the prelims was actually to focus on general awareness on a daily
Okay.
basis.
Mhm.
But leaving that aside, I knew that I had to maximize my score through general awareness. But then again, I knew I had to clear the cutoffs for quant
Right.
and reasoning. So initially, ma'am, I started looking at videos on YouTube. There are freely available videos topic wise. But then I realized that it was a little too time consuming. I would look at profit and loss, I'd look at averages, mixtures, allegations,
Mhm.
percentages. And then I just knew that, this wasn't enough. So I decided to change my strategy midway, and then I simply decided to give mocks as many as I
Yeah.
could. And yeah, it actually gave me a very good sense of the kind of questions that are given, the level of difficulty, and similarly, I got to practice a lot from the mocks. So yeah, for quant, ma'am, I never really had the super high expectations. I still remember the highest that I could score in quant across all the mocks that I gave was barely around 11 marks. That was the only double digit score that I got. So yeah, I never really worked towards maximizing my score towards quant. All I did was just practice and try to clear the cutoff. Yeah, which is a single digit. Yeah,
Okay, so that's a
right,
good point, Tia, that you bring out actually. And this I have heard
right,
with a lot of candidates who have cleared this year, that they first understood what they are good at. and
Right.
what they could clear and use to maximize their marks. So
Right.
depending on what your background, your interest and all has been, different candidates have chosen different subjects
Right.
within the phase one to maximize their marks. And of course, everybody consciously and was aware that they have to clear the sectional cutoffs within them. So in your case, you were
Right.
very aware that quant maybe is not something I want to get 100%, but I need to clear the
Definitely.
cutoff. So GA, like
Right.
you mentioned, was your focus area, and it does have the
Yeah.
highest weightage also in this exam. So
Right.
GA is also many candidates are scared of because of the volume of the content that they may have to go
Right.
through and actually remember. So what was
Right.
your strategy to remember so much content, and how many months would you have actually targeted?
Yeah, ma'am. So for GA, so the thing is, we used to get magazines from the coaching center that we were enrolled in. So I would get the GA on a daily basis. So there was three kinds of students, three kinds of aspirants. Some would do GA on a daily basis. Some of them would do it on a weekly basis, and there were others that would do it on a monthly basis. So I fell into the first category. I realized that doing it on a weekly or monthly basis would be a little too much for me. So I did GA on a daily basis. And another thing that really helped me, ma'am, was as I read through the material, course materials, I would copy paste whatever I think was relevant on MS Word
Okay.
again. So that way, if for a day I had like 2 or 3 pages of GA from the coaching center, I would further condense it and copy paste it on MS Word. And at the end of the day, I would just have half a page of GA content. And if you compound that over 30 days for an entire month, instead of having a 250-page document, I would condense it to a mere 15 to 20-page document. So that way, ma'am, it became a manageable. GA became
Manageable, yeah.
manageable. And yeah, and I also realized that because GA was like my anchor, my guiding force. So on a daily basis, I would do that, and that would actually make me feel good about myself as well. It was a mental game as well of sorts. Because if you start your day with quant or reasoning, it becomes difficult to assess the kind of progress that you've made, right? But with GA, if you just know that you've done it for a day, you're good to go. So that was like my guiding force, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah, as far as the duration is concerned, ma'am, I decided to stick to 6 months initially, but then I realized that I could push it a little bit more, so I dialed it all the way back to 8 months. But just a few days before the prelims exam, obviously I could focus only on a few months. So 3 months, the last preceding 3 months before the prelims exam was the core focus for me. So yeah,
Yeah, so if I break this down in the points
right,
that are most important, one is the
right,
daily aspect. So because yes, once we get into an habit of something, it starts one sticking in our head, and as you said, it would boost up the confidence also that okay, we have been
right,
able to do something good and achieve something good out of the day.
right.
Otherwise, if we are only focusing from the start on the weaker subjects, it may somewhere
Mm,
demotivate us also. So you
right,
started your day with your strength area, and also that you knew that this is the subject that is going to be your most scoring aspect. So
right, right,
daily consistency, regularity is very, very important. Another is
right.
making your own notes. I think this is another
Mm,
point which is recurring across the candidates who have been selected that we have come across, that they
right,
were making their own notes irrespective of various other materials that they have referred to, because
right,
actually that is what your understanding is. And
right,
when you revise your own understanding, it is much quicker because you know the mindset, you know the thought process that
yes,
had gone in writing that exactly why you wrote a
right,
certain thing down, or even
right.
copy pasted a certain thing.
Right,
So that's another very important point. And for the duration also, I really like the way you have approached that. First the target was 6 months, which is 5 to 6 months is what we say this is the standard and average one
right,
should not
right.
miss out on at all.
Mm,
And
mm,
if time
mm,
permits, you can of course push it back to 8 months,
mm,
but that
mm.
should not be the focus from the start, that 1 year I have to, that should not be the
Yeah,
strategy. That is not how we should
right,
look at it, that I
right,
have to
right.
cover this, because that increases the burden on us, that
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much
ma'am, and
time we have to
right, right,
complete.
and I think it's not even humanly possible, ma'am. I mean,
Yes,
just
exactly.
6 months is also quite a burden.
Quite a
I mean,
bit,
if you're actually
quite a
going to do
bit.
it properly. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone to dial it all the way back to 1 year, to be very honest.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And the last aspect I really liked was when revising, the focus was on
Yeah.
the last 3 months the most. So, and
Right.
of
Right.
course, then you can keep, depending on what level you are at, you can keep adding the months. But I think that's a
Right.
very,
Right.
very well thought and well executed
Mm.
strategy, Tia. So let's
Thank you,
move
ma'am.
to phase two. So phase
Right.
two, you are a BCom student, so finance and management is something I don't think would have you have been scared of, unlike a
Mm.
lot of other candidates. Was ESI a difficult point for you?
Uh, Ma'am, when it comes to phase two, yeah, uh, finance, I was definitely, uh, I wouldn't say well in tune with it, but I had definitely learned finance here and there in college, and also management. I had been learning management across all 6 semesters in college. But the fact of the matter is that, ma'am, everything felt a little too new to me. I mean, I had to learn it from scratch. I mean, I could recall Maslow's need hierarchical theory and all that, but there were a lot of new concepts that I had to learn again. So yeah, it was definitely not a walk in the park, definitely. And when it came to ESI, I really enjoyed the Indian economy, learning about the history of our economy, the 1991 reforms and the like. But when it came to social issues, ma'am, it was that was a hurdle for me. So when it came to social issues, I really had to double down on the government schemes that I was studying as well,
Right.
and that was something that I did not enjoy at all. But yeah, I mean the exam demands it, so obviously I had to learn. And one thing that I did was, before I really started preparing for my prelims, I just looked at the RBI official syllabus, and then I just started making notes on a daily basis.
Okay.
And yeah, and that way I made notes on MS Word. And it was a year-long thing. So if I had come across something that is important, that would form part of a particular topic like inflation, then I would just add on to that. And if
Add
I
on.
feel that something is irrelevant, I would eliminate it. So I was just modifying my notes. So I had a structure. So it was like an ongoing process. I did it on a very continuous basis, ma'am.
Right.
So
So
yeah, I guess that helped as well.
how many hours would you be spending every day
On
on your
phase two,
preparation? Yeah. Yeah.
ma'am, on phase two alone, I think I may have devoted around 2.5 hours, nothing more than that. Yeah,
Okay. So
and
this was
then yeah,
manageable. With 2.5 hours, it
yeah,
was manageable,
yeah,
covering.
yeah, no, it was manageable. It was manageable. But obviously, after I cleared the prelims, I obviously devoted all my time towards mains and answer writing and all that. But before that, I would give around 2.5 hours, or I would carve out Saturdays, especially for mains, because it gets to you. I mean, just studying for prelims, like studying general awareness and doing quant, reasoning, English, it becomes a little too overbearing. So that time, I would always, make time for phase two, and sort of get a lay of the land, sort of get into deep learning. Yeah.
Great, great. If we talk about answer writing, so once
Yes,
phase
ma'am.
one was cleared, how did
Right.
you practice answer writing?
Yeah. So, ma'am, I started practicing answer writing on live sessions, and I tried doing that, but I realized that I'd be better off if I did answer writing on my own. So initially, it was the live sessions that kept me on guard, and then after that, I realized that okay, I could perhaps do it on my own as well after I set a timer. So I took up different topics, but I realized that I needed to focus more on the content that I was putting out. So yeah, I did not practice as much, ma'am, but then I mostly focused on making my answers look better. So yeah, a little bit of practice, but more work towards the content and towards the thought process. And also, when I talk about my mains answer writing, ma'am, on that initial day, um, there was a lot of clattering on the keyboard. People were just going
Yeah.
at it, like the moment, yeah. And I knew this was going to come. I was mentally prepared for it. But then I think I should have dealt with it better, because when I look back now, I feel like I could have just taken a piece of paper and I could have jotted the points, like the broad structure of the answer that I'm going to write, and then go at it on the keyboard so that I don't forget the other pointers that I have already. But sadly enough, I did not do that. So if there's any aspirant that's really looking for pointers, then I would suggest that they, if there's a question on growth versus inflation, just ensure that you have some broad pointers written down on a piece
Written.
of paper, and then don't really worry about the typing. I mean, most people will definitely go at it without even thinking about the answer. But yeah, just jot down some points, and then yeah, just take your time and just go on typing. Yeah, that way you won't forget about the pointers that you already have in your mind.
That's a good advice, Tia. And that is reminding me of another candidate when you're talking about the keyboard sound in the actual exam,
Right.
because that does happen. So
Yeah.
some of the candidates actually have done that while they are practicing at home or giving the mock test, they have
Mm.
played on YouTube the keyboard sound in the background.
Right, right. I
So
heard that. Yes, ma'am.
to get acquainted with that, and this is, I think, another good advice that I am getting here. That in addition
Mm,
to
mm.
that, one may actually, once you read the question, it happens with us. We have certain points that come in our mind that I will cover this, I will cover this. But when we start typing, we tend to forget a few points.
Yeah.
So it's a
Right.
very good advice. I think you provided with a paper there and all. So you can just
Yeah.
jot down the broad points so that when you're writing and cross checking, you can just see that I have covered all the points that at least I had thought of.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
later, if
Definitely.
you had thought of and later you miss out, then after the exam feels really bad that,
Yeah.
oh, I had
That's
thought
the
this
worst
and I
feeling,
was,
ma'am. Right.
yeah, that I have not been able to cover it. So
Right.
that's
Right.
a very,
Right.
very good advice, Tia, that is there. That has come out. So you had
Right.
been there for phase two with iExamB also. If you can add, how is it helpful? Like you said, a few live sessions also for descriptive. We
Right.
had been
Right.
joining, and even descriptive English is there. So how was
Right.
descriptive English preparation for you, Tia?
Ma'am, I did not go out of the way to carve out time specifically for descriptive English preparation. All I did was just have a broad idea of how I'm supposed to frame my answers. So if it was globalization, I would talk about the introduction. I would define it. I would give it a proper body, the pros and cons, and towards the end, I would give my perspective on it. So whatever it is, I try to have a very broad perspective on the kind of answers that I'd be writing. So I guess that was my strategy, ma'am. And other than that, I would read the newspaper on a daily basis, besides the course material that I would get. So yeah, I mean, preparing for general awareness is also very important. But what we do is we have a lot of information that's given at us. So it's like we have so many dots, but when it comes to answer writing, we are supposed to be able to connect those dots. So yeah, it's like piecing one together to add it up to two. So that's exactly what I did, ma'am. Yeah.
Great, great. So, Tia, let's move to the last phase quickly. Interview. How was your
Right.
interview
Right.
preparation like, and what was your actual interview like?
Right. So, ma'am, I prepped for my interview primarily through a lot of the mock sessions that I had. I had a mock interview at iExamB as well, which was very beneficial. And the feedback that I got from the interviewers, mock interviewers, that was essential to building my confidence and also finding areas, those gray areas where I think I'd have to work upon. And another thing that I did during my mock interviews was that I would record. I would take my mobile phone and I would
Right.
put the recorder on so that I'm able to listen in on whatever I said and the questions that I could have better maneuvered. And as far as the materials are concerned, ma'am, reading the newspaper was the key. And there were a lot of reports that I had to read through, like the RBI annual report, the
Yeah.
financial stability report, the trends and progress report on banking in India, and the budget, the economic survey. So I did a lot of brushing up on all of those reports. And I still remember Sushil Lagadi, sir. He had explained the budget, the economic survey, and also the annual report of RBI in a very beautifully,
Yeah.
he had beautifully deduced everything. It made things so much more easier. So yeah, I'm still very grateful for that. And yeah, ma'am, and also a few days before my actual interview, I had a one-on-one session with Sushil Lagadik again.
Yes.
So he gave me a sense of direction as to how I'm supposed to better, deal with questions that might be thrown my way. But ma'am, if I talk about the actual interview, it was quite different, and I wasn't too nervous when I had stepped into the RBI building in Calcutta. It was magnificent. It was huge. Everything that a full-fledged central bank is supposed to be. But the moment I stepped inside the conference room with those five panel members, I started shivering. There was a lot of nervousness that went my way, so it was definitely difficult. And but then yeah, they were cordial. The questions that they asked seemed relevant. It was all from the realms of economics and finance, the realms of banking, and they also asked me a few questions regarding my interests. So that is exactly how it went. But yeah, all in all, ma'am, I think the panel members are definitely always cordial. Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned about your interest in the end, and that reminds me in your mock
Right.
interview also, I did note that. So you are a singer and a
Right.
guitarist. So Tia,
Yeah.
thanks for so much for sharing. And I'll just have one request. Why don't we hear something from you before we end the session?
Okay. All right. I don't really have my guitar with me right now, so I'll probably just sing something, hum
Sure.
something without the guitar, if that's okay.
Yes,
Okay, ma'am.
absolutely.
So this one is called it's called Valerie by Amy Winehouse. This is a song that I used to sing a lot back in my college days. So it goes something like this. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water and I think of all the things what you do. In my head, I've seen a picture. Well, since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess. And I miss your ginger and the way you like to dress up. Why don't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. So why don't you come on over, Valerie? So it goes something like that, man. Yeah.
Great.
My voice is a bit rusty. I'm sorry, but yeah, I tried my
Oh,
best.
great, great. And great sportsmanship, Tia. On the spot, you sang for us.
Thank you so
And
much,
thank you
man.
so much. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. Wishing you a great career with RBI and best wishes from the entire team of iExamB and our viewers.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks.